Every yard, every hit, every second. It's earned out here. This game demands more than just skill. It demands fuel. The right fuel. Because out here, it's not just about how hard you work. It's about how long you keep going. When the game gets real, drink bottle still.
Welcome into the OUA season preview with the defending Yates Cup champion Laurier Golden Hawks. We've got Coach Michael Faulds here with us, and I know, Coach, you probably smile when you hear defending Yates Cup champion, but there's a ton of adages about new season, new group, new outlook. But how do you guys, and we'll start by jumping right into it, week one, you guys get a really tough opponent in Guelph. How do you guys come out and make this new 2025 Laurier Golden Hawks, I don't know, kind of remind people that you are at the top of the conference heading in?
Yeah, I kind of actually do the opposite. I keep our guys grounded, let them know that obviously what we did last year is in the past, but it also, has made every team circle us and put a bit of a bullseye on us. And as you mentioned, we've got a great opponent week one. We're very familiar with Coach Soria, having had him on our staff many moons ago. So a lot of respect for what they do. And that should be an entertaining OUA game to start the season. And for our team, it's been kind of that message right from January that our biggest obstacle, which I believed way back in that first week of January, is us thinking or, patting ourselves on the back, reliving what we did in 2024. This is, the 2025 Golden Hawks. And I told them by all means, get the t-shirts, get the hats, but just know your head coach won't get any of that and you'll never see me in any of that stuff. So you can wear it around your house, any of that, but I don't want to see it around me because I'm solely focused on this 2025 version. And to the credit of our guys and our coaches, they worked hard this off season. So you wouldn't look out there and think that that's an entitled group. You would think it looks like a team that actually finished 0-8 with how hard we've been working.
Now, just like one last piece of last year, before we fully move on, when you play a team like Laval, and you guys obviously in the Vanier Cup, it was a very good game. I mean, Connor and I are both there, watching just the physicality on both sides of the line. What is like the one takeaway that you think your guys that are coming back from this year really brought in from that game against the Rouge or last year at Richardson Stadium?
Yeah, like I think you always harp on like the little details matter, and we always talk about that. Sometimes in blowout games, those little details aren't as magnified. But then when you're in a tight battle in the Vanier Cup against a team that's won more Vanier Cups than anyone in the history, those little details creep in, right? So whether that's getting a silly penalty on a PAT, whether that's being loose with how you're carrying the ball and them creating a fumble, whether there's taunting penalties, like there's stuff in that game that is very controllable. And, you can live with things as a coach that are, honest mistakes here and there, but the controllable ones you want to avoid. So I think those are all things, we felt like we didn't play our best football in that game, and that's disappointing. But again, just another way to be motivated as we get into this year, because there are no guarantees. You just hope that your team is healthy towards the end of the year so that you can make another run along with all these other elite programs that are trying to do the same thing.
And as we do look forward to 2025, now we're going to move into this season because it is August and we are there. The season's just around the corner here. One of the big storylines coming out of your program, Callum Wither, transfer quarterback. How has that been going? Because I know that's kind of been a burning question for myself and Wade.
Yeah, it's been very good. So Cal's added to our QB room. He'll be one of five in-house, and I've been impressed. It's been nothing but hard work on his front, and I've been impressed how our other quarterbacks have added him to the group, and everyone's being mature about it. And it's a highly competitive environment. Everyone's shooting to be the starting quarterback at Laurier football, but everyone is doing it with respect, and that's kind of what we tell our guys. The enemy isn't the guys in that room. The coaches are the ones that get to make the decisions. You guys just have to be the best versions of yourself. But Cal's story is very similar to mine. I went to the University of Toledo. He went to the Ohio Bobcats before coming back to Canada and transferring back. So the one thing I told him is that nothing's going to be given to you. And the worst way to approach it is thinking that things are going to be easy. And he's done the exact opposite. So whether it's meeting with Coach Galloway to learn the offense every day, whether it's meeting up with receivers and doing throwing sessions, doing some indie drills with myself, over the last 2 months, he's been an absolute sponge. And then, like I said, our other quarterbacks, Isaac Willis, Will Russell, Nate Constancio, Riley Chalmers, who we brought in, have all been exceptional throughout this process as well.
Now, there's a lot of playmakers that help any quarterback who's going to be taking over for Taylor, whoever it may be. There's a lot of playmakers that are going to be kind of a benefit to them. Like it's a kind of added bonus when you play for Laurier. You get guys like Tayshawn or Laomi. And those two guys in particular, I think, are the big headlines, right? I mean, Tayshawn with the return game, Laomi with his physical, athletic freak plays, but he's a captain for you guys on special teams. And I just want to focus on him. How do you think Laomi is going to take that next step in the receiving core? Obviously, with a guy like Ethan Jordan and Raiden Thorne both getting looks at the CFL, Laomi's kind of the one guy that's next up to get those looks.
Yeah, no, he's been impressive right from day one when he stepped on our campus. He truly has been a leader by his actions and how hard he works. And then over time, that respect has grown amongst the locker room because his play has just improved. And you mentioned how he was special teams captain. Not too many wideouts are your captain on special teams. Wideouts tend to be the prima donnas. Usually your special teams captains are running backs or linebackers or fullbacks. But the craziest stat for Laomi out of all is who led us in tackles in the Yates Cup? Well, it was our starting Z receiver, Laomi Ajutalayo. So he does that with effort and hard work. And as you mentioned, he's a physical specimen. So I look for him to not look too far ahead. He lives where his feet are. He tries to work hard each and every day. He knows the CFL teams are going to be excited by him. And I think we saw that with, our elite receivers, all Canadian receivers that have, tried to stick in the CFL. It's more than just how many catches, how many yards. They want to see your blocking. They want to see your grittiness on special teams. And I know, number 11 for us, we don't have to ever worry about his work ethic. And as you mentioned, all those other names, the skill positions, basically the whole band is back together again. So obviously we lose the star header who's now a cheesehead in Green Bay and Taylor Algersma, and a couple fifth years like Tanner Nelms. But we return a great contingent that whoever wins this QB battle and the different quarterbacks that play this year, there isn't a ton of pressure on them. They have so many guys they can hand the ball off to in the backfield and so many great weapons at receiver.
And you mentioned it, so I need to ask. I was going to save this for the end a little bit here, but you talked about Taylor and Green Bay. Just taking a bit of a broader scope on this, how good of a look is that for Canadian football as a whole, in your opinion, when you have a guy like Taylor go and get these looks and perform very admirably at that level?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's, having played the position myself, obviously it's near and dear to my heart, having seen, a lot of great Canadian quarterbacks not get a chance. And then for a while, the ones that did get a chance, say in the CFL or, a cup of tea in the NFL, had to go the route of the NCAA. What's special about Trey Ford at Waterloo before going right from U Sports and Taylor now going from U Sports to the NFL is that he's done it been nothing but a Canadian quarterback. So that's really special. And I hope it opens up doors for future Canadian quarterbacks. But he really has it all. Everyone saw it last year with the numbers he put up. Not only the 6'5" stature, which is something they obviously look for at the NFL level. You look at Allen and Burrow and Herbert, and all those guys are giant human beings. But then he's got what it takes between the ears, being super smart, willing and able to pick up a playbook. So we're all rooting for him, but we're already super proud of him. So whatever happens down in Green Bay, we couldn't be more proud of him and, proud of what he's done for future Canadian prospects and in particular quarterbacks.
Now to flip, I know we could talk offensive football all day long with you. It never gets old for Connor and I as two defensive guys to sit here and listen to you talk about your side of the ball. But on the other side of the ball, you guys have had a pretty damn good roster and makeup over the last couple of years. And while the big names, it seems, are constantly going off to the next level, you guys have had high-end production out of your front seven. Ethan Gregorczyk is always going to be that name after having that rookie season that he had 2 years ago. But who are some of the other guys that are really primed to be that next Laurier Golden Hawks defender that, you joked with us a couple years, like it always feels like there's someone in the CFL draft that's from Laurier.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of credit to our defensive coordinator, Coach Van Moorkirk, who's been in that possession for many years and sent many of those guys off. But this is probably the year we've had the least transition. As old as we were on offense last year, we were equally as young on defense. So when I say we brought the whole band back together on offense, we bring 10 of 12 starters back on defense. So it's going to be a very talented group, a group that's going to be able to fly around. You mentioned Ethan Grzorasek. Beside him at will linebacker is Jesse Wilkins-Flaherty. He was a first-year starter last year, and he just continued to get better as the season went along, and in fact led us in tackles in the Yates Cup. You look at our secondary. Jahari Hastings back, Malik Cote back, Ethan Bayfield back, Tristan Miller, Harnor Dhaliwal, like a lot of names that were hopeful to see their names in the CFL. And we were sad for them when they didn't. But now I look at, our defensive core that's coming back for training camp, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not so sad that they didn't make it. And then when you look at the defensive front, I think what makes us special, and you see it more late in games, a lot of teams have an outstanding starting four, and most teams do. And they all get 70 snaps a game. So over the course of a game, there's attrition there. We constantly roll 8 deep on the D line. So instead of 4 guys getting 70 snaps, we have 8 guys getting 35 snaps, and they're just constantly fresh. So a real headliner was our rookie of the year last year in Mateo LaQuintana. I'll be, bullish and say he's one of the best already going into year 2. But yeah, names like Marcus Tenney, Matt Caruso, Andre Butte, and the list goes on and on. Like I said, we're only going to be able to probably dress 8 or 9, but we could go 11 or 12 deep there. So Coach V's done an exceptional job. He'll move guys around. He'll get guys playing time, and it should be a fast-moving defense that can fly around.
Now let's pause, take a moment to talk about a guy like Mateo, because he had one hell of a national semifinal game. And really a playoff run through and through for him was something else to be seen. How does a player on the interior kind of take that next step and develop year over year? Like we talked about last year with Ethan, like, hey, this was his first real offseason with us. Now you can see the progression. Is that similar for the defensive lineman, or is it more of a technique refinement over the course of the year that we're just going to keep building and this steady climb is going to continue?
Yeah, well, I always say to our defensive line, if you take any singular position at any U Sport team, the Laurier defensive line is the most spoiled in terms of coaching. So Coach V is the longest serving DC in the country. He's our DC, and his expertise is D-line. Last year, we had defensive lineman Kwaku Boateng coaching him, who is the highest paid D end in Canadian football for a while. S.A. Marabwe Ajufo, who is a longtime CFL vet, and Trayvon James, who was our best D tackle ever, who also played in the CFL. So those are the guys coaching them. So they leave no stone unturned, and they work those guys extremely hard. So Mateo, he's a unique freak. The guys actually call him Wreck-It Ralph because of how big his hands and feet are. But he can play both inside at D tackle, but he's quick enough to play at end as well. And we flirted with both all off season. So you pair that up with kind of keeping that engine and fire gassed up, because he's only going to play 35 snaps a game, but we know those 35, he's going to be true Wreck-It Ralph and cause havoc in other teams' backfields.
Probably the best nickname I think we're gonna get this year, Connor. We better just run with that one. I was pretty happy to hear you guys had guys like Harnor back on at the safety spot, but Jahari Hastings, and I know I've been following along with the kind of mini docu-series you guys are putting out as Laurier football. But Jahari spoke about himself taking that vocal leadership role into last year. How has he developed more of his leadership skills after the run you guys made last year?
Yeah, well, I always tell guys like the first and foremost thing to great leadership is having respect amongst your peers and the coaches around you. And how do you gain respect? Well, it's how you walk the walk, right? It's not about how well you break down a position or a group and how well you talk. It's about how hard you work. And then when you feel that it's a good time to speak up, all those ears are going to be listening. If you're naturally lazy and you slack and you cut corners at any point in which you talk, people will listen, but they're not truly taking it in. So everyone, myself included, when Jahari talks, I absolutely respect him because I see him grinding every single day. So with that, he's found his voice and he's found those optimal times. He's definitely not a rah-rah guy, but I just know anyone on that defense, anyone on this team would run through a wall for him because they see that he would do the same for his brothers.
All right, Coach. Looking forward here to week one. At the time of this recording, we're about 2 weeks or so away from the start of the season. You're on the road at Guelph. Not quite Friday Night Lights. It's going to be a Saturday 6 p.m. game. It's called Saturday Night Lights, but Guelph. That's gonna be a test out of the gate for you guys. What are you expecting in that one?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, they got a great coaching staff, as I mentioned, Coach Soria, who was a part of our staff. And he's assembled a great staff there. So one, you need good coaching. Two, you need good quarterback play. And Tristan Aboud's a great quarterback. And then they've got a lot of veteran pieces rounding out the rest of that, offense and defense. So week one's always a little different. You don't really know what to expect from your own team coming out of camp, nor do you have any recent film of the other team you're playing. So you're going off a lot of what did they do last year? What did they do in the spring? But more just trying to execute your game on OD and special teams. But we wouldn't have it any other way. Like, to be honest, we like when we play the better teams. Our best football games last year were against teams like Western and Queens and the better, programs in this conference. So to have a marquee team, a team that's really risen over the last couple of years in Guelph week one, I think that's going to be a great matchup for all OUA supporters.
With that, Coach, I think we are ready to rock and roll for week one. So thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing the Golden Hawks. Do we have any uniform updates? Is there anything new before we go, or is it just even keel with last year with the purples and the whites?
Just the purples and the whites, but the whites are brand new. So that's as
Oh,
flashy as we get.
there we
We'll try
go.
to do more flashy with our play, but we're just going for the clean look.
I like the all white team, so I will certainly back new white jerseys anytime we hear about them. But Coach, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck with training camp as always. And there's Laurier Golden Hawks season preview.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys, and appreciate all you do for OUA football.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.